If you want financial freedom, time freedom, and want to leave a legacy for generations to come, you probably have heard real estate investing is the place to do that. How do you get started? What do you have to do? When's the right time? If you are looking for those answers, you've come to the right place. My name is Kyle Stanley, and this is Fearless Flipping. My mission is to help you learn this business and conquer real estate investing. Welcome into Fearless Flipping, where we are teaching you how to conquer real estate investing. I'm Kyle Stanley, and before we get started with this very special episode, I need you to just take a second, whatever platform you're on, like, subscribe, comment, review, hit that notification bell if you're on YouTube. No matter what it is, any little thing really helps us with our mission to get out to more people and help others really learn how to invest better in themselves and better financially through this vehicle called real estate investing. Now, to the real meat of this episode with Tim Bratz. If you have not heard of Tim, you are going to start hearing a lot more about him. I bet you'll start hearing about him from Grant Cardone as well, because he's starting to creep up into that realm of multi-million, all the way up to possibly $1 billion soon enough, of multifamily real estate investments. Doing it differently than Grant Cardone, though. You will see how that is, and I like his version better. I like Tim's version better because it will get him through any sort of crash, any sort of market correction. So if you are ready to get started in real estate investing, but have thought to yourself, man, what if a crash happens? What if a correction happens? What if something happens? This will answer that question. This will help you to have the confidence to conquer multifamily real estate investing. Let's check in with Tim Bratz. Hey, what an honor we have today. Tim Bratz with us. And Tim, if you don't know, is you can kind of classify him in the same category as like a Grant Cardone, but at the same time, he's doing things much different than Grant Cardone. You'll find out exactly how here in a little bit. But Tim, thank you so much for being in with us here today.
Kyle, I'm pumped to be here, man. Thank you for having me. Excited for to share value. You provide a ton of value to a lot of people. So thank you for what you do.
Thank you. Okay, so we got to get started with, I always love asking this question, what is the most interesting or the weirdest real estate story that you have in your 10 years of investing now?
I mean, there's so many of them, right? And I guess when you ask me that question, the first one that comes to mind is, I've been investing for 10 years. About 6 years ago, I got into apartments, and a year, I bought an 8-unit apartment, then another 8-unit, and then built it up into like a 12-unit, and then a 14-unit, and then a 25-unit. And then I bought this 31-unit building. It was like the crown jewel of my entire operation, right? Like, I bought it. I'm all excited about it. It's my first like good area. Everything else was in C class or D class kind of areas. I buy this 30-unit, but it was heavily distressed, and a lot of tenants, were living in there, and I came in and they weren't paying rent, right? So it's like, it's 80% occupied, but really only about 20% economically occupied. People actually pay rent. And the new guy comes in, they're like, who's this guy? I haven't paid rent in 2 years. Why would I pay rent to you? And within 60 days of me buying this building, the Santa Maria of my operation, the crown jewel, one of the tenants burned it to the ground.
Oh my God. The entire thing.
Down to the shell. Yeah, it was down to a shell, and 30 units, everybody's displaced. And then it went through a 3-year insurance battle and lawsuit on that. And learned a couple things about insurance too. Didn't have the right insurance in place, and policies should have been almost $3 million. I got paid out barely over $1 million on it. So I actually had to sell the building. It wasn't enough to build it all out. And a couple lessons learned on that one, but it was that's the one that still tugs on my heartstrings, I guess.
Well, you've done okay since then. So you, like I always talk about, don't let those things that bring you down, those fears, keep you out of the game. Just use them as learning lessons. You're either winning or learning. So that's awesome that you just moved on to the next. So let's hear your story, man. I know you've been doing this for 10 years. I know you started kind of, at a young age. I wish I started at the same age as you did. I really did not get a grasp on what real estate, the power of real estate, until I was 30, 31. But I just want to kind of hear your story from the beginning, especially, just the transition to what you're doing today.
Sure. So, I I was going through college when the market was going gangbusters last time, right? So '03 to '07, I'm a kid in school. I'm money motivated. Somebody tells me that if you have a pulse, you can make money in real estate. So I get involved in real estate, right? So after I graduated, I'm from Cleveland, Ohio originally. I ended up moving out to New York City. My brother was living out there at the time and thought, hey, I'll become a real estate agent, right? And so I became a commercial real estate agent. That was kind of cool and kind of exciting. I was down in New York City and I did retail leasing and investment sales, that kind of stuff. And just opened my eyes to the world of investment real estate. And I brokered this 400 unit retail space in Greenwich Village. It was $10,000 a month. First deal I've ever done. I brokered this thing, $10,000 a month for 400 square feet with 4% annual escalation, 12-year lease term. And you do the math on that and you're like, oh my goodness, this guy's going to make, the landlord is going to make almost $2 million over the next 12 years for doing something at one point in time. And I graduated from this thought process of transactional income to residual income. Instead of trading my time for money, I wanted to go out and get paid the same way this guy was going to get paid, was doing something at one point in time, getting paid on it over and over and over again.
Absolutely.
So went down this rabbit hole of like passive income, residual income. How do I do it? And I think a lot of us get involved in real estate for that capacity. And then we think, hey, I have to go stockpile a bunch of my own cash. So I need to go and flip houses. I need to go in wholesale houses. I need to get into other different avenues of getting involved in real estate. And that's what happened to me. So I love New York, but I wanted kind of more lifestyle. So I moved down to Charleston, South Carolina when I was 22. At the age of 23, I bought my first house down there. I went through that whole analysis paralysis phase for probably 6 months and trying to learn everything about real estate. And I think one of the things that really hit home with me was you can't learn how to swim by reading about swimming in a book, right? Like
Amen.
You actually have to get in the water and start treading water in order to figure this whole thing out. And I realized that I wasn't going to learn how to invest in real estate without buying a property. So I was like, man, just, do what you got to do and go and buy a house. And this is '09 now. So the market's just shifted and all these bank-owned properties are starting to pop up. But everybody's saying run from real estate. My dad's telling me to go get a job. Nobody's going to lend me, a punk 23-year-old kid, any money to go and buy a house. And I didn't have the resources, right? But I heard Tony Robbins say one time, it's not about the resources, it's about being resourceful. So a lot of people say, hey, I don't have the time, I don't have the money, I don't have the expertise or the knowledge, I don't have the resources. Well, if you're resourceful, resourcefulness is the ultimate resource. You can find the time, you can find the money, you can find the knowledge and the skill set. And I think looking back over my investment career over the past 10 years, it's probably one of the most important characteristics that's helped me have success. I don't look at things and say I can't do something, because when you say I can't do something, it shuts off your brain, right? Like the creative juices stop flowing. Versus asking yourself, how can I make that happen? How can I find the money? How can I get the knowledge? How can I create the time? When you ask yourself a question, it leads to another answer or to another question. And when you do that, it leads you down this path of becoming more resourceful, right? Of finding solutions to things. And that's one of the things that I've always done. I don't know if I train myself to do that or whatever, but I always ask myself questions like, how can I go find the money? So I went and called up my credit card company. Like, nobody's going to give me money, but I got this credit card. I got a $1,500 limit on it. And I had it open for about a year and a half. And I called the credit card company. I'm like, hey, can you guys increase my limit? I'm about to make a big purchase. They're like, how much do you need? And I said, probably with my pinky finger like this, $100,000, And they laughed. They laughed.
Throw your freaking bone here.
Yeah, exactly. And they're like, sir, I appreciate you being a customer, but you've been a customer for about 15 months. So guess what? We're not going to give you $100,000. I said, well, how much can you give me? And they said $15,000. I said, done,
That'll do.
Let's do it. And so I got some balance transfer checks. And I actually showed up to closing with a handwritten balance transfer check. And the attorney was like, dude, get the hell out of here. You need like a certified funds check. And so I had to delay closing, and I don't know what I'm doing, but I went out and bought the house. Right.
Wow.
And so I did all the work. I'm searching, Google searching and YouTube searching how to change out carpet and light fixtures and all this kind of stuff. And again, being resourceful, trying to figure out how to do it. Literally paying my friends with beer and pizza. And in 75 days, I flipped the house, from when I closed on it to when I sold it. And, I made $13,000, and I don't know what the hell I'm doing. I'm 23 years old, worst real estate market in 80 years. And I just made 13 grand. I was hooked. Right. So let's go do it again. Let's go do it again. Then you learned about wholesaling. You learned about like short sales was a big thing back then, and trying to do loan modifications and people just walking away from properties and giving me the deed to their property saying, I don't want this thing. And, trying to just learning all that kind of stuff. Right. And then once you realize like how to find deals, you start bringing it to people with money. They say, hey, I got money, but I don't have the bandwidth to take on any more projects. How about I give you the cash and we'll figure out some sort of equity split? And that's how I got into like buying and holding properties and more flips. And that's how I started raising private money. So I got really good at finding deals. And then from there, I was able to go and present that to people who had cash, and they were willing to put up the money and believe in me. So, met some people, got involved with actually a couple of brothers who partnered up and put up quite a chunk of cash about 6 years ago. And that went really well for about 3.5 years. And about early 2016, life happens. And we decided to go our separate ways, liquidate our portfolio, which was like very consuming of me back then. It was like I dedicated 3.5, 4 years of my life to building up this portfolio of about 150 units maybe. And then we had it was a partnership, went sour, and the best path was to just liquidate everything. So sometimes you can't see outside your box, but some things that are actually a setback are really a setup for better things in the future. And what that did is took a lot of weight off my shoulders and opened me up, because I had like an exclusive agreement with those guys to not do deals outside of what I was doing with them. And by dissolving that partnership, it ended up opening me up to a lot of other people who wanted to do business with me, who couldn't do business with me, or I said no to previously. And over the past 4 years, again, I've been in real estate for 10 years, right? It's not an overnight success, but this compound effect kind of kicks in. And over the past 4 years, I built a portfolio of I got some closings as I was telling you, but after this week, I'll be at 3,200 units, a little over $250 million, $260 million of property value. And my cost basis on that is about $150 million. So there's a lot of equity in it. It's not all mine. There's me and a couple of partners and equity investors and some other people that are involved in it too. But a big chunk of it is mine.
Hey, Fearless Flipping community, let's hear from one of our sponsors right now. Have you thought about becoming a real estate investor, but you have no money, or maybe you just don't feel like you have the right guidance, the right system, or maybe the right plan? Well, the Phenom Investor Blueprint course is your answer, developed by seven-figure earner Matt Garabedian and a good friend of mine. Matt uses his 10-plus years of real estate investing knowledge to teach you how to get involved with real estate investing without spending a dime. Matt's wholesaling techniques will work for any market at any time. So if you want to make 6 figures, 7 figures, or more, yeah, that's right, it's possible. It's time to invest in yourself. Check out the Phenom Investor Blueprint at fearlessflipping.com/phenom. Again, that's fearlessflipping.com/phenom. This is your first step to financial freedom. fearlessflipping.com/phenom. And we're going to dive in deep into the multifamily stuff right now, but you just gave so many like really good nuggets there that I just want to touch on a couple things. And it's really funny that you talk about this idea of paralysis by analysis, because yesterday I just went live on Instagram about these like, oh shit moments of like, just getting into real estate and like, holy cow, I might close 3 deals this week. And all of last year I closed 3 deals. And where am I going to get that money from? And I think you said something really, really cool there, that like, so many people get to this point of like, well, it's not within my capacity. Well, is it? Like, ask yourself that question. hey, am I being paralyzed by fear because this is actually a fearful external thing, or am I being paralyzed by fear from the inside? And it sounds like you did a really good job and have done a really good job and have escalated and accelerated your business because you just ask yourself really good questions. Am I kind of summarizing that right?
And here's the other thing that I've learned over the years is that fear is not real, right? Like danger is real, right? But fear is not real. Fear and faith are actually the exact same thing. They're both believing in something that has not yet come to pass, right?
Mm,
The
wow.
difference is one's positive and one's negative. And here's the best part. We get to choose whether we want to be positive or we want to be negative. So instead of saying, hey, what could go wrong? Like, what if I lose my money? What if the market turns? What if something I get screwed by a contractor? What if a tenant tears up a unit? What if? Hey, what if you got rich? What if you were able to build a financial wall around your family that nothing could ever break through? What if you were able to build legacy wealth for generations? What if you could give back to your church or give back to your community or give back to families that are falling on hard times? Why not focus on that instead of focusing on the negative stuff, right?
Right.
And that's one of the things that takes a little bit. Being in a normal is negative type society, it's hard to do that when you're watching the news, right? When you're reading newspapers, when you're watching reality TV and all this trash and garbage that's out there, it brings you down and you focus on the negative all the time. I've eliminated all that. I don't watch any television other than like Planet Earth. I like that kind of stuff.
There you go.
Men Who Built America. If you've never seen that, that's amazing show. I watch stuff like that and I don't read the normal news because it's just all negative. The political stuff, it's the exact same thing over and over and over again. Like, why even waste your time on it? So I don't spend my time on any of that stuff. I focus on positive food for my brain versus negative food for my brain. And then naturally over time, you build that muscle up and you only see the positive in some things, without being realistic and understanding, that there's downside risk to some things, but a lot of that stuff can be diluted, right? So there's a reason there's insurance in place. There's a reason you have a team in place. There's a reason you have checklists and checks and balances and all these other things in place to reduce that risk. And for me, at the end of the day, the prize and focusing on the prize is so much more, and it gets me through every hurdle that could possibly get in my way.
Man, amen to all that. That's so good. And I think especially when it comes to the volume of what you're working with, if there's any negative thoughts that are coming across your mind, it's just going to paralyze you. And those are all the questions that I had when I was getting into real estate investing. Oh, what if the market crashes? Or, oh, what if there's a month where it doesn't perform and I got to get money out of my pocket to pay people? It's those things that come across your mind, but like you said, it's not real until it actually happens. And then when it happens, you just figure it out. Like you
just solve a problem, you solve a problem, you solve another problem. I remember watching that movie, The Martian, right? With what's his name? Kevin? No,
I haven't seen that one.
Oh, it's who's the dude who's oh man. anyways,
Yeah.
it's what's his face from Born Identity?
Matt Damon.
Matt Damon. So he's an astronaut. They leave him on Mars. He has to cultivate Mars, and he comes back at the end of the movie, and he's like teaching. He's a professor, and at the end, it's like, how did you get past all that stuff? He goes, listen, like all it is a set of solving problems, and like a problem's faced, and you solve the problem. What are you going to do? You're either going to die or you're going to solve that problem and get past it, right? And every problem you solve, you get a little bit better, and you get a little bit smarter, and you get a little bit more expertise, and you just solve problem after problem after problem. If you get good at solving problems, you get down the path versus getting derailed or quitting or anything like that, right? And it's the same thing in real estate. Like I got involved in real estate when I was 22, 23 years old, dude, I don't know anything else. Like, I don't have an opportunity to quit because I don't know what else I do, right? Real estate's the only thing that I know. And for me, it was just never an option to quit because I didn't know, I couldn't do anything else. And maybe that's part of it. Like, I didn't have any other backup plan or backup strategy. But I'm kind of a burn the ship kind of guy though, you know.
Yeah.
I'd rather go all in and either succeed or die trying.
That's awesome. And that's great advice too. At the same time, there's a lot of people out there that, have that secure full-time job, need that education and aren't quite ready to burn the boat. So what I want to just do is focus really quickly on how, we're going to go into the next episode of how people can build a multifamily portfolio like what you have done. But before we get into that next episode later on in the week, I want people to understand how you went from, this idea of, flipping a home, buying your first property to now owning an incredible portfolio. Where did that transition happen? And really, why did it happen, Tim?
That's a really good question. So I was going through real estate and I was always a solopreneur, right? I was doing my own thing. Even when I partnered up with those guys, those couple of brothers that put up some money, and we started buying single family houses. I was doing low end flips, high end flips, bought a couple of single family rentals, duplexes, triplexes, that kind of thing. Even when I was going through, I was a one-man show, right? So I'm finding the deals. Sometimes I'm swinging the hammers. I'm negotiating. I'm managing. I'm collecting rents. I'm taking tenant phone calls. I'm listing it with a broker. I'm talking to seller, talking to buyers. Like, I'm doing literally everything. And I remember like getting to this point where I was at max capacity, right? And I'm burning the candle at both ends, trying to make ends meet. Problem with that is that ends don't meet their ends, right? And so I'm like, what the hell am I doing? And I think the turning point for me was going out to a mastermind. So for anybody who doesn't know, a mastermind is like, it's a group of entrepreneurs who gets together, maybe usually on a quarterly basis, let's say, and they sit in a circle and they say, hey, here's what I'm really good at. Here's my background. And here's the number one struggle in my life right now. Many times it's business. Sometimes it's personal, health, could be relationships, could be whatever. But the entire goal is the mind power, the brain power, and the genius that is in that group. There's so much experience in life and business that when you bring up your problem, we all go through the same problems. It doesn't matter if you're selling real estate or widgets or like a service or consulting or whatever. We all have the same business elements to business. So it's finance, it's accounting, it's human resources, it's operations, it's, all the sales, marketing, all these different things. So when you come up with your struggle, your issue, for me, it was being a solopreneur. Somebody else is like, dude, I was there 2 years ago. Totally understand. Here's all I did. I hired an assistant. Start out with an assistant. I was like, an assistant, like, this is, in 2014, I made a little over $100,000, about 120 grand, right? And so I go out to this mastermind in 2015, February of 2015, and they say, hire an assistant. I was like, that's like 40 grand a year. That's like a third of my income. How am I supposed to afford that? They're like, no, it's not 30 or 40 grand a year. It's $3,000 a month. And for 30 days, 60 days, test it out. If it doesn't work after 60 days, you can, part ways with whoever you hired and go back to being a solopreneur and banging your head against the wall. And
was this local or was this a virtual assistant?
It was local. So I hired somebody who was actually like boots on the, like, essentially, here's what I did, man. How do I create a scope of work for them and like, what's their roles, responsibilities, and all these things. And so here's what I did. I took a pen and paper and I wrote down everything I did for an entire week. And next to every single activity, I either wrote a $sign or a 0. And then next to every activity, I either wrote a smiley face or a frowny face. And essentially what I did is I focused on the things that made me happy and made money. And everything else I staffed out. Right. And so and that was the list of all the shit that I was doing. And here's the list. Here's your to-do. Here's your job, your role and your description. And so I gave that to my assistant. They did everything from, marketing to driving properties to helping out with taking my laundry to the dry cleaner, like literally everything. And that year I tripled my income, so I made almost $400,000 in the next 10 months because of that thing right there. Right. So going out to a mastermind helped me get outside of my own head and gave me the belief system to go out and do things that I didn't have the balls to do before. The thing with masterminds, though, people think, hey, I can go one time and I'm done. Here's the thing. Every level you get to, every obstacle you overcome, you get to that next level, there's another level of obstacles. There's another level of problems. So that's why it's important to go and plug in like once a quarter. And so I believe heavily in masterminds. I think a lot of my growth has been because I joined masterminds and found mentors. Dude, I'm in 6 different masterminds, 6 different ones. Wow. I spent over $100,000 a year on masterminds because I believe so heavily in them. You don't have to join 6. I would find one, even if it's a local one, get together with 10, 15 local entrepreneurs, maybe some in real estate, maybe some not in real estate. I actually think that helps give it a different dynamic. And when you do that, you're able to kind of push through each ceiling. And when you meet on a regular basis, let's say once a quarter, you're able to, get past, implement what you learned for the next 90 days. And then when you reach that next obstacle, then boom, here's the biggest obstacle in my life right now. And then they're able to help you push through that one. And that's, I think, really fast-tracked my success. It's not a magic pill, right? It's not a magic anecdote to not having to do the work. You still got to do the work, right? You still have the ambition to start. You have to have the perseverance to stay, and you have to have the discipline to do the work in the middle. So it doesn't take the place of that, but it very much can fast track your knowledge and your expertise. So that way, because you're going to pay for this education one way or another, either by losing money or by paying somebody to consult and teach and coach you. And for me, it was worth every penny, and it's fast tracked my success in a big way. I don't think it's a coincidence that I joined a mastermind in 2015 and I started building my current portfolio at the end of 2015. And just in the past 4 years have built a portfolio of 3,200 units. I don't think it's coincidence. I think it had something to do with it,
there's no coincidence there. And I hope our listeners and viewers are picking up on the fact that, it's so easy to look at what you've built. They go to Commercial Empire and they see that you're on stage, they see your following, and they see how big you are, man. But go back to 2009 when you bought that first house and you didn't have enough money to buy it and you just figured it out. And then connecting the dots on getting into, the passive multifamily space. And then, just figuring it out from there of how you were going to take it to the next level. Cause I think it's really easy. Just like what you said, you become this huge technician in your business and you make $120,000. And you're like, man, I just worked my ass off. How in the world am I going to get to that next level? Well, you put yourself around people that helped you get past, pull those blinds back, those curtains back so that you could see exactly how to, and good God, look where you're at today. So that's amazing. So, Tim, there's been so many good nuggets here in this first episode, not even the direction that I thought we were going to go, but I've appreciated every moment. Before we do kind of wrap up here, I want to make sure people have a way to connect with you. We've talked about Commercial Empire a little bit too. I want to give you the floor for a couple minutes. Talk to us about what that's all about and how can people get connected with you.
I appreciate that. Listen, I'm not a guru, right? I built up a business, and about 1.5 years ago, I've had a bunch of people. I'm kind of bigger than the small investors, but I'm not quite like a hedge fund or a REIT or something like that, right? And so I was approached by a whole bunch of different education companies and saying, hey, let's put a course together. Let's do this. Let's do that. And man, I've been to all the seminars, right? I've spent a lot of money going to all these things, and I didn't like the sleazy feel of run to the back of the room and with your credit card and, only the first 10 people get this or whatever. And so I said no to a whole bunch of people. And then their group came to me that came very highly recommended by 3 people that are mentors and good friends of mine in the real estate industry. They said, listen, if you're going to do it, this is the team to be with. And I was going through something at that time in my business where I built up a management company. And as you build a bigger business, you think you have to take on all this overhead and all this staff and all these things. And man, I found I was an adult babysitter, And so I said, how can I build my business? Asking good questions. How can I build my business in a way that I can build it up without having to take on additional overhead personally and responsibilities and all this stuff? And so I thought, like, to that time I had joint ventured with some people. Like, my buddy down in Georgia brings me a deal. I'm able to sign on the loan, raise some money, give some mentorship. He's boots on the ground, can oversee the contractors and find the deal and like that kind of stuff. And then we're able to carve up the deal in a way that's equitable for everybody. And I was like, I wish I could do more of that. And so when these guys came to me with the education company and I was going through that hurdle in my life at that time, I thought this could be a perfect way to educate people. And so we put together Commercial Empire. So Commercial Empire is a 3-day intense deep dive into exactly how I do deals, how I find off-market apartment buildings, how we negotiate them, how we do all the due diligence on them, how we underwrite them, how we put financing in place, how we raise private money, how we pay those private money lenders, my conversations with private money lenders, all the documents I put together to stay SEC compliant, the operating agreements, and then closing on the property, overseeing all the project management, the value add process, and then turning it around, either refinancing it, selling it, holding it, letting it cash flow, whatever you want to do. And then we do some business development stuff as well. So I give A to Z on everything to go out and do. Invest in apartment buildings on your own. You can go out and do that on your own. I have a lot of students who are crushing it right now and buying buildings on their own. And then there's other people who say, hey, Tim, I have the time and the bandwidth and the desire and to go out and do this, but I need a little bit of help on the money side. I can bring money to those operators and help them get into deals that they couldn't get into before. And at the same time, there's other people who are like, hey man, I got money, but I don't want to do all the work that you're doing. Can you help me put money into different projects? And so I'm able to work with them and help them get involved in projects that they couldn't get involved in before. And, I'm able to kind of keep my team in place, handle the administrative side of everything, and help mentor and coach people through the entire process. And together we're all able to build wealth. So it's a really cool way to work with people, educate people, and meet some awesome business partners that we're able to kind of build our portfolios together. So that's Commercial Empire. If anybody's interested, go to commercialempire.com, fill out the form. My team will reach out to you in a day or two and give you details on the next one. So appreciate that, Kyle.
Perfect. Yeah. And we're going to have that in the show notes too. So if they're driving right now, they can just go to fearlessflipping.com/Tim Bratz, TIMBRATZ with a Z. So Tim, any last departing advice that you have for our listeners?
Man, I would just say, just do it, right? You can't learn how to swim by reading about it in a book. You got to go out and buy a house. My cousin wanted to leave his job for a long time. He's 10 years older than me. And he sat down with me and he's like, hey man, what should I do? I want to get involved in real estate. I was like, dude, just go buy a friggin' house. Go buy a house. Just any house. Go buy any house and you're going to learn more than any course or anything else that you could do. Just go buy a house. And he went and bought his first house in March of last year. He did 15 deals in his first year in real estate. And now he's about to leave his job. And they have a portfolio of like 25 rentals, and they're flipping, 2 houses a month and all sorts of stuff in a pretty short period of time, right? And so, it all happens by taking action. Just get off your ass and go do a deal.
Awesome. Tim, thank you so much. You have been an incredible wealth of knowledge to all of our listeners. And I'm excited for the next episode when you are going to teach our listeners how to build a multifamily portfolio just like you. And in doing that, they will start to conquer real estate investing. Thank you so much, Tim.
Appreciate it, Kyle.
All right, you know the drill. fearlessflipping.com/Tim Bratz. That's where you can find this show notes from this episode, plus later on in the week, or if you're watching later in the month or year or whenever you're watching this, you can see that second episode where he is going to teach you the how of building a multifamily portfolio, exactly how he's done it, $260 million in under 4 years. That is incredible, guys. That's not even something that Grant Cardone can say that he's done. $260 million in under 4 years. Now, Grant has done $260 million in 4 years, but not his first $260 million. That's exactly what Tim did. So you are going to get so much knowledge from that. You need to listen to it. And once again, you need to go to the show notes, fearlessflipping.com/Tim Bratz. Go out there, conquer real estate investing, and we will see you next time.